have been a writer by nature for as long as I can remember. I try to put myself in the center of the subject, and then from there gaze out. I think it was obvious very early on that it wasn't a plaything for me. It wasn't a hobby. It wasn't an occasional thing I was dipping into. It was my world. It was my life. It was my life breath. It was always just me, like beating the drum, beating down the doors of these editors, and just trying to pinpoint what I felt I could most specifically contribute to and what could contribute the most to me. So every day, as I sit and go about my entrepreneurial business, I can hold my head up knowing that it was completely me that forged my own path. And in that sense, the legacy that I will leave, however big or small, will be purely and uniquely Clara Rose. You guys are catching me at a time where it's complete reconstitution of self-identity after having been back in America for so long. So this is an interesting journey for me to explain some of these things, these aspects of myself, my heritage, and my self-awareness. I grew up on the south side of Chicago, Illinois, right at the end of the Red Line, L train. Both of my parents are 1/4 Irish. My father, Michael Albert Thornton Sr., his grandfather was an Irishman, came over from Ireland, Ellis E. Reed. And my mother, her grandfather, Fleming Dabney, came over from the north, I believe County Antrim. And he married, actually, the first Clara Rose. I am Clara Rose the fourth. And the first Clara Rose was the first free woman in our lineage. It's actually pretty common for African Americans to have Irish ancestry because the Irish and black folks in America had an interesting sort of shared history when the Irish first came over. So the way I like to describe it is after you get together and are planning against the man, schematics and whatnot, then some other mixing starts to happen after that. Because we were both sort of bottom of the barrel. The dares and the stares and the motion in the mental attic are all driven by the beat of a drum. All driven by the beat of a drum. Black History Month, Ireland, just experienced its naissance. This past October 2014, I was instrumental in founding and orchestrating the initial Black History Month Ireland with a man named Zeph Ike, who's from Nigeria. And it was a fantastic experience. It's a time when the artistic, cultural, scientific, mathematical contributions of a people that are still portrayed in the media as lesser finally have their due in a concentrated fashion. It's a beautiful thing. I just recently got back from about a 5-week trip to London and the States, all over the States, New York and Vermont and Chicago. And that was my first time to my home country in 3 years, and my first time in my hometown of Chicago in 5 years. So, yeah, that was both unsettling and grounding, because the issue of police brutality and discrimination against people of color is at a fever pitch. And to go back when I did, when anger and protests over the court decision over the Eric Garner case was really, really intensified. For example, there was a march with like 650,000 people in Manhattan the day I landed in New York. There was a march there through Midtown Manhattan and another march in Staten Island where Eric Garner was from. So, I mean, that was my first day back really from London, since really coming into those issues myself in terms of how I conceived of my own self-identity as a person of color in these foreign lands, another continent, various different cultures, and really being aware of myself as an other in that sense, really for the first time, even though I am American. It was an intense thing. It was a very intense thing. I mean, I was having debates in the street with people about this issue. You know, it was being discussed over dinners, Sunday dinners with family. It is a really interesting, emotional time for me to go back.
Eric Garner could not breathe, so now we're taking it to the streets. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on.
And the whispers that you hear when you swear that all you fear is the truth, then come back to this moment. Writing is my world. Words are the reason that I'm on this planet, and I know that. There is nothing else for me here but the words. I try to put myself in the center of the subject, whether that subject may be an individual, an artist, or a happening in the world, an event, or a product like a new CD or a new book. Whatever it may be, the subject itself, I like to place myself in what I find to be its nucleus. I try to find its nucleus. That's the preparatory and research work for me before the more traditional research kicks in. Is to look at something, really look at something, really try to experience something from inside it, and then from there gaze out. Because then that starts me on the path of trying to find out, what does this thing, this person, this piece of work, this statement, this happening, what does it mean universally? How is it affecting popular culture at this moment, or other people's lives on an intimate level, on a ground level? I feel that you can only really try to figure that out if you lose your ego, lose a sense of self, and try to step into something purely and truly. It's like Jack Kerouac said, through the most personal shall you find the universal. And perhaps reading something of mine or hearing some work of mine might change one facet of one corner of some person's day or perspective. And if that happens, then I've done my job that day. I'm the type of poet that, as I'm wading through my life experience, things accumulate, some things scatter to the wind, some things lay weighty on my soul. And the things that lay weighty, those are often the experiences and the moments that come back around, that stick, that linger, that I begin to mull over. For example, Wet Grass, dedicated to Trayvon Martin. I wrote that in Ireland. while I was watching these things go on in my home country and the reaction to them, watching them flash across a computer screen, being so far away. So there's a line in that piece: as the rain beats down my window here in Ireland, the only images springing to mind through the wet glass of a clear torrent. I'm here in this rainy country so far away, but for me, that rain became his blood. So to infuse the personal experience of a grander incident and apply it visually, metaphorically, in a way that speaks to the universal. I'm loving Ireland. It has such a deep-seated and passionate literary culture. That's what really caused me to fall in love with the country. I mean, people here will pack a poetry show like it's a raucous concert, but it's so deeply ingrained and embedded in the fabric of Ireland that you sort of find words and performance and bardic delivery infused into more daily activities and environments than one might normally in other locales.
Why choose to make every day your battleground? And who is this enemy that you swear is staring you down?
I've had such a warm reception here, and I want to continue to see what Ireland can give to me and what I can give back to it creatively. So I think I found my spot.
Stay silent. Come back to this moment. Come here. Come back to this moment. Come back to this moment. As the rain beats down my window here in Ireland, the only images springing to mind through the wet glass of a clear torrent is the red blood that began to flow onto the wet grass in a torrent, clearly so abhorrent. The night a white passing male decided for America once again. Once again. That black means danger. That black means stranger. That black means no walking my streets without a license. The night another unarmed black man's blood spilled onto wet grass.